Hello, IK here. Welcome to JavaScript Engine Developer Continuous 2. Here is again a diagram of what happened with our JavaScript programs, applications like React.js application, for example. When we enter address in browser, what happened after that? In short, to say, JavaScript, our JavaScript program is built from statements. JavaScript grammar, there is total 9 types statements. And that statements by statements, as we program it, code it, go to JavaScript engine. JavaScript engine is part of browser, every browser. JavaScript engine compile or translate JavaScript statements by statements to virtual machine language. That virtual machine language is C++. JavaScript engine is, or interpreter or translator, is also in C++. And the engine, for example, one translation in our JavaScript program, at first we have statements type import and translate that import in virtual machine language. And again, maybe we have import type again and again. And practically that compiler, that job of engine developer is create code 9 types of translation. For every type of statement, 1 type of translation. Okay, engine, JavaScript engine compile or translate or interpret from JavaScript statement to virtual machine instructions. And for example, every statement, JavaScript statement, one statement, there is 100, for example, 100 instructions in virtual machine. It is a virtual machine here is for less job for developer, and practical. It is very, very practical because virtual machine running in any hardware. But after that, we must have implementation to different hardware for any kind of hardware. And okay, from virtual machine language, for example, 100 instructions in virtual machine language, it is C++ also. Translation in assembler. Assembler of that 100 instructions, assembler can have 100,000 instructions. And after that, assembler would be translate also from our JavaScript engine, would be translate in assembler of concretely hardware, and translate from in final step, translate in machine language for that concretely hardware. Because, and any type of hardware, I think on microprocessors and controller, every line of processors, there is a separate, there is own assembler, and must be adaptation, implementation of our virtual machine code in C++ and assembler for that, what running, virtual running. It is complete our program running in that virtual machine. Of course, virtual we call because it is not visible on the hardware, on the screen. It is running inside our memory, but to be visible on the screen, we must adapt it implement it to concretely processor, and in the end, ultimately, we have machine language for that concretely hardware, and visible on the screen, all is all circle compilation is finished. Here, when we look at compiling process, there is 3 steps from JavaScript to virtual machine, from virtual machine to assembler, and implementation of that assembler, implementation to concretely assembler, and final, that concretely assembler execute compile in a machine language. 3 steps of compiling. That compile process does JavaScript engine. JavaScript engine is application in C++ also. It means that is self-state application inside the browser. It means every application there is own compiler, and look at how many programs compiler, and where it is end of that. Okay, and it is behind of scene, all that happened in the browser. Browser function in background of platform, background for every application in our computers is operation system, and all that hierarchy of layers and layers is something what permit us build for us our application to be visible on the screen, and that engine developers, maybe better to call it JavaScript engine programmers, because maybe he has concentration only on programming, don't have other as web front-end developer. Front-end developer, there is knowledge about color psychology and the design, user interface, promotion, and writing coding, because of that is developer. But backend JavaScript engine programmers is also developer, because he work for a front-end developer, and they have same problems. If web front developer don't follow standard, don't follow principles like solid acronym is 5 principles. JavaScript engine developer have a lot of problems to take care about that, take a lot of problems to build engine that work excellent for that every situation, to give a free web front developer that can does what he want. It is not. And they both is very connected, even its connection for somebody would be invisible. For who it is somebody, it is a web front end developer who don't follow solid principles. And of course, in that situation, visible connection is that when front-end developers control performance of his application, it would be very wrong, or it would have bugs and a lot of errors. It would be because don't follow principles in building, and that principles is about architecture, not about architecture. It is look at from functionality, but front-end developer can look. He have to look also from user interface, design, etc. But it must be compatible, and the front-end web developer have to know principles for building any software applications. And I use in my video and my book, I use only first separation by concerns, single responsibility. Second name for that is a single responsibility principle, because it is enough that we see, that we understand, that we have no confusion, that we understand how we programs all that. And we programs, for example, component for add post form, but in that component we have a user state, for example, for local. It means that user state is single responsibility only for managed data inside of local data of that component. Don't care about that component, but care about that is on the use simple hook or Redux. If we have if we use Redux for global data. Okay, and it means that every kind of code, depending about single responsibility, separation by concern, and it means. And now, when we know that, we understand what is component and how to create component. One component for one goals, one our target. And that component thinking, take care only about user interface. It is return. Take care what return. But about data, take care use state or dispatch tank function, etc. If we know that we follow that single responsibility, and we now understand and we know why we use poor functions for every function. For reducer is poor function, component is poor function, use state is poor function. What it means, poor function? Poor function means that for same input we have always the same output. It is not. If it means that there is nothing unknown result in input. For example, there is nothing. There is no side effect inside of in enter in component. Enter is in use state. Side effect. Side effect, but our application, there is a lot of side effect here. For example, the most one is take remote data on remote server, like in our application. We must go. In JavaScript, there is can work asynchron, and that asynchron in when we use that asynchron also work one function or a more function if we have tank function, wrap, asynchron request, etc. And all that is again separate by concerns. It is separate function. Dispatch, it is separate function. What dispatch? Dispatch action creator. Action creator is separate function, separate by concern. Only have one job. Dispatch, there is one job. Dispatch action creator to store, to reducer. Action creator, there is one goes, dispatch action to reducer. And if we have Redux, we need, because Redux don't understand asynchron process, only synchronized, we must have tank function, and Redux is hard state manager, and it must know what happened in any phase of asynchron process. And because of that, we have a middleware and we have a tank function, and that tank function inform Redux, it means changes state, by three action. Action type pending, it is time when we waiting result of our asynchron request. And when result arrived, if it is all okay, we have action type fulfilled. Or something wrong, we have action type rejected. It is when we have Redux. Okay, in any case, we have function, and it is a functional programming. Functional programming, we have that hook that we can work with hook function. Functional programming coming when we have arrow function, and when we declare object, we instantiate it, assign to it arrow function. It means that object equal arrow equal function, and function equal object, because now function can go in parameter of other function, and that object equal function, function equal object, it is functional, it is a criterion for functional programming. But take to it, we have excellent security because function like a parameter would be executed in that parameter and cannot other function access that parameter. Only domicile function can call, can activate, can use that parameter. Look at this encapsulation. Add a new post. A new post is a poor function. It is a tank function. And add new post is a parameter of dispatch function. And no one function can call add new post. Only dispatch function. And it is encapsulation also. No one can take this parameter. It is hierarchy. Dispatch must call add new post. Add new post, there is a parameter title and content, but it also can be arrow function, can be some function also. It is encapsulation. And in the end of this video, I can say we have immutable way of changes. Immutable way means that encapsulation we have until death of some data. We don't touch a state and we create a new state. For that, we use poor function reducer in store of Redux. And immutable way, when all that together is principles. It coming from a single responsibility or separation by goals. All that coming from that first principles. And I need for my courses and for my book and this video, I need only that first principle, because principles is boring and it is a distraction when I would explain principle, but and deconcentrate focus on the React JS. But we see how big usefulness and how it is important single responsibility to understand complete coding in React. Don't be confused. And in the end of some state, we don't touch that state, but from copy of that state, we create a new state. And it is encapsulation, highest possible encapsulation. Data, what we don't need, state, what we don't need more, we don't touch, but on the copy, with the copy of that state, we create new state, immutable way. And when you look at in this video, I say I have terms like encapsulation, functional programming, poor function, immutable way of changes data, single responsibility principles, etc. I didn't spoke that terms in the beginning, and I like talk about principles now because we have a lot of practice in code, and but it is very, very important in the beginning of courses to say what is a reason for confusing in React. The main reason of these terms, what I said about, is altogether reason for confusion, but the most important reason, I didn't spoke it in last video. It is declarative programming instead of imperative, because the declarative means all boilerplate, what we must again and again code by hand or copy our template, etc. In object-oriented programming, all that we don't need. We write code only for our what we want, our goals, and no path to achieve that goals. And it is reason when we from imperative programming coming in React.js, we don't see code. We don't see from scratch code from scratch up. We see only top of that code. We see only code what we want. And when we add it to all what I spoke about, functional programming, pure function, immutable way of changes, single responsibility, and all that together give us a big confusion. And if we know it, we have not confusion, and we like React because we have a less as possible less coding, scripting, and some practice. It would be all okay. I almost now in every video spoke about that terms and what it means and about that, because now after a lot of videos about React, I think it is not boring for you. It would be boring if it is your first video in React, but if it is hundreds and hundreds videos about React, it is not boring. It is interesting. In the beginning of my book, I will warning readers that don't care about that would not be confused because of that terms, and try for explain in short, but we go in the coding, and during coding explain every of these term what give us confusion. But the most confusion coming from declarative programming, because we don't see in React, we don't see what we see in object-oriented programming when we create objects from scratch, from blank screen. We building a complete object. But here we code only what we need. Look at all that function. We don't know code of use state, use effect, and look at the index here, index.js. What is we see what is root, but real code of root coming from create root function. We don't know what create root function, code of that function. Create root create our object root, but what is create root? We import it. We import it from React DOM client package create root. And here we use that root and render complete starting our application. We don't know code of provider, but provider provide Redux to our application React. But we don't know code about that. We know, for example, code of store because we code it. And etc., etc. There is a lot of invisible code. And for beginner, it cannot be more confusion, more reason for confusion, except that. But it is not only one reason. There is a lot of reason, and all that reason is poor function. Principles, 5 principles, first principle, single responsibility, etc. With that principle, we are sure, and we can go, and after practice and learning, we can go in self-created, self-coding React Redux application. I always want to connect React Redux, and my story is always about React Redux, that we accept Redux, that we don't afraid Redux in the simplest possible coding without design, coding crude, create, read, update, delete. For all that I use Redux, that you know Redux, that you be accommodate to Redux, same as accommodate on React. That would not be break between knowledge of React and afraid of Redux. No, it go together in my video, in my application. And I always talk about it in complete. And in some video, I compare it with application only, React application without Redux. But it is very simple to go from top to lower level. It is light for accept, for no. Then when we go from bottom to up, from lower to up, there is always a thread of complication, of complicated up level. What is a Redux manager is up level from use state manager. It's all for this video. Thank you for watching this video.